Synopsis. My mother was the tragic heroine of a melodrama. Despite my father's coldness and indifference, she remained steadfastly by his side with unwavering patience and gentleness. Everyone knew she loved him with all her heart. But on the day of my surgery, my father brought home the woman he once loved, a recent widow, along with her daughter. Upon hearing the news, my mother remained remarkably calm. She hung up the phone, her eyes brimming with tears, but she gently touched my forehead and smiled. Uni, a man's promise isn't worth a dime. I'm only going to show you how to deal with them once. Chapter 1. By the time I woke up, the surgery was over. A beautiful woman sat by my side. Her silken black hair was gathered in a loose bun, held in place by a simple jade hairpin. Though her attire was modest, she exuded an air of effortless elegance and quiet sophistication at first glance. Uni, are you in any pain? She asked, gently stroking my head, her eyes glistening. Just hold on a little longer. We'll be going home soon. I gave her a weak smile, realizing instantly that this was the mother of this body. This was a world inside a melodrama, and the female lead was named Jiang Shending. The name perfectly suited the graceful woman standing before me. As for me, I wasn't the lead. I was merely the daughter of the tragic heroine, Song Hanyu. The male lead, Song Xingchuan, had once saved Jiang Shending only because she bore a striking resemblance to his white moonlight, the woman he had always pined for. Out of gratitude, Jiang Shending had poured all her sincerity into being a gentle, devoted wife. But later, when Song Xingchuan discovered that his dream girl was still alive, his attitude toward Jiang Shending shifted overnight. He became cold and distant, often staying out all night. Even today, when their own daughter had been in a car accident, Song Xingchuan couldn't be bothered. He was too busy preparing a birthday party for the daughter of his true love. Mom, I tugged at Jiang Shending's sleeve, my voice raspy. I'm thirsty. Jiang Shending seemed to snap out of a trance. She hurriedly sent the maid for warm water and gently propped me up with 2 pillows. I was lucky. A steel rod the size of an arm had pierced through the roof of the car, but it had miraculously missed my major arteries and vital organs. Even the doctors called it a rare miracle. While the maid and Jiang Shending were busy, the hurried footsteps echoed from the doorway. A man in a sharp suit walked in, frowning as he asked, "How is Hanyu?" He looked to be in his late 30s, with sharp brows and bright eyes. Time had only added a layer of mature sophistication to his features. Seeing me propped up against the hospital bed, he cast an impatient glance my way. His first words were, "Jiang Shending, when did you start using our child as a ploy for my attention? You used to just cry all day, and now you've intentionally let Hanyu get hurt just to force me to stay home." Jiang Shending opened her mouth to speak but found no words. The maid returned from the next room with the water and, overhearing him, quickly chimed in. "This has nothing to do with Madame. Uni was out with friends when a drowsy driver hit them." Song Xingchuan realized he had misjudged her, but he didn't even think to apologize. He simply looked away. A heavy silence filled the room. The maid continued, "The doctor says the young miss needs to be hospitalized for another half a month. Madam hasn't left her side for days. Will you be coming tomorrow or the day after? I can prepare an extra lunch." Song Xingchuan raised a hand to stop her. "No need. I'll be busy for a while." He turned to Jiang Shending and said flatly, "Yu Yao and her daughter moved back a few days ago and had nowhere to stay, so I've been helping them out. Today is Yu Yao's daughter's birthday. Since she lost her father, I promised I'd take her to the amusement park today." He gave my injuries a cursory glance. "It doesn't look too serious. It's good that you're fine." Jiang Shending, usually so quiet, spoke up with startling composure. Oh, she's fine. She was only just pulled back from the brink of death. While you were picking up Yu Yao and her daughter, her surgery wasn't even that long, certainly shorter than the time you spent helping Yu Yao move. Her daughter gets a grand birthday party, while my daughter almost dies. How wonderful. What a stroke of luck. Song Xingchuan was stunned. He never expected the habitually gentle Jiang Shending to snap back like that. Are you crazy? If you want to die, go ahead, but don't drag everyone else down with you. It's always about death with you. I'm sick of seeing you moping around the house every day. He turned to the maid, his voice heavy with irritation. I won't be coming home for the next few days. Don't bother cooking for me. Hearing Song Xingchuan rant about death so callously, I honestly wondered if he had a brain tumor pressing on his nerves. I worried how the gentle Jiang Shending would react to such provocation. I looked at her, only to find her expression surprisingly cold and calm. She remained unfazed even as Song Xingchuan stormed out of the room in a rage. An inexplicable sense of dread washed over me. I gently tugged at her sleeve. Mom, Jiang Shending soothed me softly. Yuni, don't be afraid. I'm not going to die. We aren't the ones who should die. They are. She watched Song Xingchuan's retreating figure and let out a self-deprecating laugh, though her eyes flashed with hidden malice. Yuni, a man's promise is the most unreliable thing in the world. I'm only going to show you how to deal with them once. Chapter 2. On the day I was discharged, my mother and my uncles came to pick me up. It was a lively, crowded group. My father was nowhere to be found, likely off with the woman he adored. Jiang Shending wore a white coat, her black hair cascading down her neck, making her look even more graceful. Shending, if Yuni feels uncomfortable at any point, just tell Lu Jizhai. One of my uncles introduced a man in gold-rimmed glasses standing beside him with a bright smile. He's a close friend from my grad school days, a famous surgeon. A consultation with him usually costs a fortune. The man in the white shirt looked elegant and detached. Jiang Shending offered a small smile and shook his hand. Then I'll thank Dr. Lu in advance. Lu Jizhai returned the handshake politely, his voice as clear as a jade bell. It's nothing. Hanyu is a dam's niece, so she's like a niece to me as well. As we reached the front gate and saw Song Xingchuan's car in the garage, the maid gasped. Is the master home today? He must have rushed back knowing Yuni was being discharged. My mother cast a disinterested glance toward the house. It wouldn't matter if he were. He can't cook, and he doesn't know how to say anything kind. He might as well have stayed at the office. We were chatting and laughing as we approached the door when we heard someone turning the handle. The door opened, but it wasn't the maid. It was a little girl I didn't recognize. She looked at me, tilted her head curiously, and asked with an air of entitlement, "Who are you?" I said nothing, my gaze dropping to the clothes she was wearing. She was dressed in a fluffy pink nightgown, looking as comfortable as if she were in her own home. Jiang Shending gently pushed her aside, careful not to let her bump into my injuries, and asked calmly, I was about to ask who you are. Why are you wearing my Yuni's nightgown? Do you think this is your house? The girl was about my age. At those words, her eyes welled up and she ran inside, sobbing, Mom, Uncle Song. Song Xingchuan hurried downstairs, looking a bit sheepish. For the first time, he spoke in a softened tone. Jiang Shending, this is Yu Yao's daughter, Yu Tiao Tiao. They haven't found a place to live yet, so they'll be staying with us for a few days. Tiao Tiao got her clothes dirty today and had nothing else to wear, so I told the maid to grab a few new sets from Hanyu's closet. As he spoke, a woman in loungewear stepped out of the kitchen, spatula in hand. Tiao Tiao, what's wrong? Why are you crying? I looked at my mother, then at the woman before me. She did indeed resemble my mother, but she lacked her grace. Instead, she had an air of forced innocence and naivety that seemed ill-suited for her age. My mother let out a soft chuckle. My apologies. I didn't realize she was your daughter. I thought some stray child had wandered in. Yu Yao's face flushed bright red before turning pale. My mother acted as though she hadn't noticed and spoke to Song Xingchuan in a gentle tone. My mother just returned to the country today and will be staying with us for a while. Yu Ni also needs care after being discharged, and we're short-staffed. Finding new help would take too long. Since Yu Yao is here, perhaps she could lend a hand in looking after my mother? Song Xingchuan was taken aback but quickly composed himself. Knowing Jiang Shending's gentle nature, he assumed this was her way of quietly accepting the situation. His voice grew warmer. That sounds good. You'll be busy with Hanyu anyway. You wouldn't have the energy to worry about my mother's needs as well. Jiang Shending turned to Yu Yao with a look of feigned regret. Exactly. My mother can be a bit of a picky eater. You can spend the next few days learning a few dishes from Auntie Vuong. Hanyu and I prefer lighter meals, so please try to keep the oil and salt to a minimum for us. She was effectively dumping a mountain of chores onto Yu Yao. Yu Yao's face deepened in color as she shot a pleading look at Song Xingchuan. The fool simply thought she was being shy and offered a reassuring smile. Don't be afraid. Just be yourself around my mother. Besides, you're not an outsider. You're my friend. My mother will treat you like her own daughter. He spoke with such authority, as if he saw absolutely nothing wrong with his words. I lowered my eyes and offered a secret smile. From the moment we entered, Yu Yao hadn't shown an ounce of the politeness or awareness expected of a guest. On the contrary, she acted completely at home, ordering the servants around as if she were the lady of the house. Perhaps that was what Song Xingchuan liked about her. He saw her as authentic, vibrant, and pure. In his eyes, Jiang Shending's reserve and sophistication were qualities that didn't belong in the spotlight. But Song Xingchuan didn't realize that sometimes gentleness can be a sharpened blade. After the meal, Yu Yao was left with no choice but to help the servants clean up and wash dishes in the kitchen. My biological father had long since vanished. I was heading back to my room when Yu Tiao blocked my path. She intentionally flaunted the bracelet on her wrist. Song Hanyu, do you like this? Uncle Song bought it for me. It's way bigger than yours. The Uncle Song she spoke of was, of course, my father. On the day of my accident, he had been busy pleasing his white moonlight and her daughter. My mother, who had just come inside after checking the garden, happened to overhear. Tiao, do you want to go upstairs and play with your sister? She reached down and patted the girl's head. She has lots of pretty trinkets in her room you can look at. My mother emphasized the word trinkets. Predictably, Yu Tiao's eyes lit up. She ran into the kitchen to find Yu Yao. Mom, I want to go to Song Hanyu's room. Yu Yao acted as though it were the most natural thing in the world. Go ahead. If you see anything you like, just ask Uncle Song to buy it for you. I looked toward the kitchen, then met my mother's eyes. Jiang Shending smiled at me silently, her gaze saying, "Don't be afraid." You really have so many pretty things. The moment she entered, Yu Tiao's eyes went wide at the sight of my jewelry. The girl had good taste for her age. I pulled a ruby bracelet from the cabinet and showed it to her. Do you like this one? Children truly can't resist sparkly things. Yu Tiao snatched it and put it on, he admiring it with unmistakable envy. I want this one. I shook my head unexpectedly. No, this one is mine. Yu Tiao froze. She ran out of the room still wearing the bracelet to find her savior. Uncle Song, you said if I didn't like the bracelet you gave me, you'd get me a new one, right? Song Xingchuan doted on her instantly. Of course, of course. What do you want? Yu Tiao Tiao shook her wrist. I want this. Song Xingchuan frowned and lowered his voice to coax me. Hanyu, didn't your mother buy you plenty of necklaces and bracelets? Tiao Tiao is a guest. Why don't you just give this one to her? Jiang Shending, who was sipping tea on the sofa, let out a soft cough. Song Xingchuan, losing face, pulled out his phone with a darkened expression. I'll transfer some money to you and your mother. I'll just go buy another one. I watched this scene with a cold internal laugh. What a fool. When he finally realized he had paid to buy himself a world of trouble, I wondered what his face would look like. In the following days, when she wasn't home playing with me, my mother went to the office to handle projects. My father was busy showing Yu Yao and her daughter around the city. My mother wasn't the typical brainless heroine of a tragic novel. In terms of status and intellect, she was a perfect match for Song Xingchuan. Her only weakness had been an unrequited love. I heard that years ago, Song Xingchuan had saved her from an embarrassing situation at a gala abroad. That hero saves the beauty moment had made Jiang Shending fall for him at first sight. Only later did she realize she was merely a substitute. And now that Yu Yao was back, all of Song Xingchuan's attention naturally gravitated toward her. On the day my grandmother arrived, I went to my mother's room to have my hair done. During this entire time, I hadn't noticed anything unusual about Jiang Shending's behavior. There, my Yuni looks beautiful today, Jiang Shending said, pinching my cheek with a smile. You've almost fully recovered. You'll be back at school in no time. She took my hand and led me downstairs. My grandmother had arrived. I had heard stories about her. She was sharp-tongued and loved to put on airs. She used to make life difficult for Jiang Shending. It was only after I was born and people noted how much I looked like her that I managed to charm her into accepting my mother. Grandmother, I called out clearly. The elderly woman immediately pulled me into a doting embrace, was checking me over. How did this accident happen? Is the injury serious? Does it still hurt? I shook my head with a smile. It doesn't hurt anymore. Just then, a sweet voice rang out from behind us. Grandmother! Yu Tiao Tiao ran up and tugged at her hand coquettishly. My grandmother's gaze dropped to the girl's wrist. Under the sunlight, the ruby on the bracelet sparkled. I heard my grandmother let out a cold snort. It seemed a very interesting show was about to begin. With Yu Yao around, my father had lost all sense of reason. He didn't notice grandmother's deepening scowl and enthusiastically introduced them. Mom, this is Yu Yao. He even picked up Yu Tiao Tiao to greet her. And this is Yu Yao's daughter, Tiao Tiao. Grandmother didn't acknowledge him. Instead, she spoke to Yu Tiao Tiao. That's a lovely bracelet. Yeah, I bought one exactly like it for Yuni. An 8 or 9-year-old couldn't possibly catch the subtext. Thinking she was being complimented, she showed it off proudly. This is Song Hanyu's bracelet. Uncle Song said I could have it for my birthday. Humph, grandmother laughed coldly, casting a sharp glance at my father. You certainly know how to be generous with other people's belongings. My mother and I stood to the side, looking obedient and silent. The bracelet was a custom piece grandmother had ordered for me last year. My mother knew it and I knew it. Only my father and Yu Tiao Tiao were clueless. Even the dim-witted Yu Yao sensed the shift in the atmosphere. She hurriedly tried to make peace, putting on a stern face to scold Yu Tiao Tiao. Why are you always asking Uncle Song for things? She then turned to apologize to grandmother. I'm so sorry. Tiao Tiao didn't realize how precious it was. Song Xingchuan jumped to Yu Yao's defense. Mom, Tiao Tiao is just a bit playful. She's been treating this place like home lately, so she was just being casual with Hanyu. The man and woman holding the little girl looked like a picture of a happy, warm family. Grandmother frowned in disbelief. They've been staying here for how long? Are there no hotels in this city? It's quite inconvenient having guests stay at the house. Yu Yao thought she had touched grandmother's heart, and that the bracelet incident was forgotten. She gave a sweet, dimpled smile. It's no trouble at all. It's very convenient here. Xing Chuan told us to treat it like our own home, and so we didn't have to bring much. Grandmother eyed her from head to toe, adjusted her glasses, and smiled. Forgive me. When I spoke of inconvenience, I wasn't referring to you. I meant that having you in my house is inconvenient for me. The air froze. Song Xing Chuan finally snapped, his voice a low growl. Mom, what are you doing? Yu Yao has only been here for half a month. Everything was fine while you were away. Why do you have to start trouble the moment you get back? Grandmother caught the key word immediately. Oh, so it's been half a month? I suppose your wife was just too timid to speak up. She turned to my mother and me. Shending, take Uni upstairs. We'll head to the mall in a bit. As we went upstairs, we could still hear Song Xing Chuan's furious shouting from below. Shending didn't say anything! She knows Yu Yao and I are just friends. Why can't you think like her? She's been so quiet and cooperative lately. It's strange. The gentleness and compliance he had once taken for granted were now being used as a shield, and grandmother's old disdain for my mother had transformed into pity and praise. I looked at my mother and whispered, Mom, did you hear that? I heard. Jiang Shending smiled, stroking my hair. Everything is just beginning. My mother wasn't relying on grandmother. She wasn't relying on anyone. She just wanted to watch the three of them tear each other apart, skillfully withdrawing herself from the fray. The house was already a mess, thanks to Song Xing Chuan. Grandmother had finally accepted my mother, only for another woman and child to appear. If word got out, the Song family would be the talk of the town. And grandmother, who valued reputation above all else, naturally loathed Yu Yao and her daughter. Two women who once disliked each other were now forming a brief alliance against a third party. My mother was right. It was only the beginning. Her next move was to cut off all communication with Song Xing Chuan. When she met me after school, Yu Tiao Tiao ran up and asked loudly, Song Hanyu, have your parents been fighting? I pretended not to understand. No. Yu Tiao Tiao raised her voice triumphantly. Your dad hasn't spoken to your mom in days, I replied with feigned annoyance. My mom hasn't been home much lately. Of course he hasn't seen her to talk to her. Yu Tiao Tiao sneered. Whatever. My mom said your mom can't stand being in the house anymore, so she's hiding at the office. You're so gullible. I pursed my lips, refusing to engage with her. Song Xing Chuan's life hadn't been easy either. He'd be in the middle of a meeting and get summoned home by grandmother. Grandmother would complain that Yu Yao's cooking was terrible and make her redo it, but Yu Yao would just roll her eyes and walk away. Then Song Xing Chuan would have to suck up to grandmother while getting annoyed that Yu Tiao Tiao was too loud and ordering the maid to take her away. Eventually, Yu Yao and her daughter would throw a fit and pretend to leave, only for Song Xing Chuan to go beg them to stay. He was like a loyal dog chasing its master's heels. Grandmother used to criticize my mother the same way. But back then, Song Xing Chuan would take his mother's side, leaving my mother to prepare breakfast for the whole family in the middle of the night. Now that his internal affairs were falling apart, he finally remembered the gentle and understanding Jiang Shending. He wanted to find her to vent his frustrations. However, Jiang Shending had seemingly vanished. He couldn't find her anywhere. Usually, when the house was in chaos, she'd have everything sorted out neatly. He'd never faced a situation like this, and now that the burden was on his shoulders, he had no idea what to do. When I got home, Yu Yao was coming out of the kitchen with a ceramic pot. She poured a bowl of chicken soup for Yu Tiao Tiao. Tiao Tiao, come drink the soup Mommy spent all afternoon simmering. Seeing me, she gave an awkward smile. "Hanyu, would you like some?" I shook my head, my eyes flicking to the two familiar figures coming down the stairs. "Ms. Yu Yao, did you tell Tiao Tiao that my mom is staying at the office because she can't stand being home?" My eyes welled with tears. "Our home wasn't like this before. Since you arrived, Mom hasn't been back in days. You let Tiao Tiao wear my dresses and play with my dolls. She sits in my seat. And now you want to kick my mom out too? This is my home, mine and my parents." Yu Yao's smile froze. When she saw Song Xingchuan, she looked at him like a savior, her voice turning soft. "Xingchuan, please explain it to Hanyu. Did Shending say something to her? I didn't do anything. I just asked her if she wanted soup. Xingchuan, look, I even made soup for everyone." Song Xingchuan looked disheveled, his eyes bloodshot. For the first time, he ignored Yu Yao. He stepped toward me and asked in a low voice, "Yuni, do you know where your mother has been staying?" I tilted my head. "Isn't she at the office?" He sighed heavily. "She's not at the office." Yu Yao stood by with her daughter watching. Finally, she couldn't help but say, "If this is how it's going to be, maybe I should just take Tiao Tiao and move out for a while." After a moment, Song Xingchuan nodded. "Maybe that's for the best." His voice was exhausted. "I'll rent an apartment for you. Take Tiao Tiao there so you two can have your own place." It was Yu Yao's turn to be stunned. She had only intended to play hard to get, but she never expected him to take her seriously. If she moved out, she'd lose the free maids, the free driver, the villa, the pool, and the balcony she used for her social media photos. "Xingchuan, that doesn't seem right," she probed cautiously. "How can I spend your money?" "It's fine," he reassured her. "It's a small price to pay. Just move out so my mother stops picking fights with you." I wanted to laugh out loud. Men's heads are truly black holes. Song Xingchuan leaned down and asked me again, "Do you really not know where she is?" I pretended to think hard before finally nodding. "I remember now. Mom said she was going to have dinner with some people today." His eyes lit up. "Where? I'll go pick her up." I smiled softly. "At the Hidden Reed restaurant." Hidden Reed was a private restaurant that only took reservations. Jiang Shending had already instructed the staff that if anyone came looking for her, they were not to be let in. "Is your father on his way?" Jiang Shending's voice came through the video call. She looked perfectly composed. I grinned. "What are you eating? Let me see." She reluctantly panned the camera around, trying to look stern. "I told you to come, but you wouldn't. Look at all this delicious food." I mumbled, "I have to help Yu Tiao Tiao move. She's leaving tonight." "A pity," she said, her voice neutral. "It's going to rain tonight." I lay in my bedroom, looking out the window. Sure enough, dark clouds were gathering. It looked like a storm was coming. "Yuni, how are you feeling? Getting better?" Another man's voice joined the call. Lu Jizai smiled and waved. He must have come straight from work, still in his light blue shirt, his gold-rimmed glasses making him look even more sophisticated. I nodded. "My arm is much better." "That's good, but don't do anything too strenuous yet." My mother took the phone back and set it on a stand. "Your uncle had a last-minute emergency, so he treated us to this dinner." I blinked. So, according to her, it was just her and Lu Jizai having dinner? Outside, the rain began to fall, quickly turning into a downpour. From the second floor, I saw Yu Yao and Yu Tiao Tiao dragging 3 large suitcases toward the gate. They hesitated for a long time before eventually giving up and sneaking back into the courtyard. Just as I was about to watch more closely, I heard a waiter's voice over the phone. "Ms. Jiang, there is a man named Song outside waiting for you. Shall we let him in?" Lu Jizai said nothing, elegantly continuing his meal. Jiang Shending laughed. "Your father certainly got there fast." "Yes," I agreed. Because it's pouring outside. Heavy rain hammered against the roof and creating a loud din and shrouding the restaurant in a thick mist. Jiang Shending slowly took a bite of food and asked casually, "How long has he been waiting in the rain?" The waiter checked his watch. "About 40 minutes. "Is that so?" She smiled. "Then let him keep waiting." When I went downstairs, I found a soaking wet Song Xingchuan sitting on the sofa. A maid stood nearby, holding a clean coat, unsure whether to offer it. He was staring blankly ahead. His gaze was fixed on a wedding photo. In the picture, Jiang Shending was in a white dress, smiling sweetly, while he looked clearly distracted, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Xingchuan?" Yu Yao led her daughter out of their room, saying regretfully, "The rain is too heavy. Can we just leave tomorrow?" Song Xingchuan waved her off tiredly. "Whatever." Seeing me, for his eyes brightened. "Yuni, did your mother say when she'd be back?" I smiled. "She said soon." That seemed to give him a bit of hope. Beside us, Yu Tiao Tiao asked loudly, "Song Hanyu, is your mom still not home?" Yu Yao added curiously, "Yes, we haven't seen her in days. Where could she be in this weather? It's worrying." Song Xingchuan let out a dry cough. "She's at Hidden Reed having dinner with her brother." The moment the words left his mouth, a car pulled into the driveway. Song Xingchuan jumped up, but then he saw Lu Jizhai holding an umbrella, opening the door for Jiang Shending. I looked at Song Xingchuan. His lips were pressed thin, his expression dark. Yu Yao, as if discovering a new continent, nudged him and whispered, "Is that Han Yu's uncle? He doesn't look much like her." When he reached them, Lu Zhizhai gave a polite nod. Song Xingchuan gave a lopsided, mocking smile. "Is this the person you've been having dinner with? Is this why you've been coming home so late?" Lu Zhizhai and Jiang Shending exchanged a quick, knowing smile. In Song Xingchuan's eyes, it looked like a blatant provocation. He snapped, shouting at Jiang Shending, "Your daughter has been waiting for you all day. It's pouring rain and you don't say a word before going off to dinner with another man? I went looking for you in the rain." "I waited an hour and never saw your face," Jiang Shending asked suddenly. "Didn't you also forget you had a wife and child?" She smiled at him gently. "Do those words sound familiar to you?" Song Xingchuan froze. She continued calmly, "During the new year, and you ditched your daughter on the side of the road because of your own business. It was snowing, yet you drove off without a second thought, leaving her to catch a high fever. When I gave birth, you were so busy reuniting with Yu Yao that you didn't answer my calls for 12 hours. You even blocked my number because I was being noisy. I ended up having to take a taxi home by myself. I'm only treating you the way you treated me. Why does it feel so unfair now?" She laughed and gestured toward Yu Yao. "You even brought your white moonlight into our home. Did you forget you were married?" Jiang Shending was no longer afraid to rip open old wounds in front of everyone. On the contrary, Song Xingchuan's eyes turned red with a mix of rage and humiliation. He laughed bitterly. "Fine, if that's how you want to play it, then I have nothing left to say. Think whatever you want." He grabbed me and shoved me toward Jiang Shending's arms. "Yuni, look at your mother. Look at what she's doing to your father." His rough movements aggravated my injuries again, making me gasp in pain. Only then did he seem to realize what he'd done, leaning down hurriedly. "What's wrong? Does it hurt again?" But Lu Jizhai blocked him with one hand. Jiang Shending looked down at him coldly. "Don't touch her." Chapter 3. Ultimately, a slap from Jiang Shending brought Song Xingchuan back to his senses. After that, she ignored him entirely and led me straight into the house. "Yuni, your father was too rough. Did he hurt you?" she asked worriedly, checking for any bleeding. She sighed in relief when she saw none. A knock came at the door. Grandmother arrived with Song Xing Chuan trying to play peacemaker. Shending, don't fight over an outsider. Don't let the children see you like this. Song Xing Chuan stood at the door, holding a plate of fruit and warm milk. Eat some fruit, he mumbled. Jiang Shending didn't even look at him. Just leave it on the table. When are Yu Yao and Yu Tiao Tiao leaving? Song Xing Chuan took a deep breath. Tomorrow, when the rain stops, I'll drive them to the apartment. How thoughtful of you, she remarked. Once the sound of his footsteps faded down the hallway, my mother turned to me and laughed, pinching my cheek. What is it? Do you think your father has changed? I hesitated, then nodded. She smiled, but it was a bitter expression. Indeed, people only realize what they had once they've lost it. I looked down. I know. How do you know? She asked, surprised. She pulled me into a pitying embrace. My poor Uni. I hugged her back, smelling the faint fruity scent of her perfume. Alain de Botton wrote in, on seeing and noticing that the less you like someone, the more effortlessly you can attract them. Intense desire makes people lose the necessary nonchalance for the game of love. When you are attracted to someone, you feel inferior because we tend to attribute perfect qualities to those we love. Love is like walking a dog. You have to know when to pull the leash and when to let it go. How could we let Song Xing Chuan keep the upper hand forever? Jiang Shending stroked my hair. Yuni, if mom and dad separate, will you come with me? I looked into her eyes and nodded seriously. She let out a soft laugh. I remember every grievance you've suffered. She seemed to recall something and asked casually, when I wasn't home, did you remind your father to take his medicine? My lashes fluttered, and after a long silence, I shook my head. It sounded like a joke, but I suddenly understood. This was her third move. Song Xing Chuan had a heart condition and needed to carry medication at all times. Fearing his mother would worry, he kept it a secret. Usually, Jiang Shending would iron his clothes a day in advance and check his pill case to ensure it was full. But after Yu Yao returned, Song Xing Chuan didn't want to spend a single extra day at home. No one was there to nag him about his life-saving medicine. Later, with grandmother and Yu Yao constantly bickering, the house was in chaos, and he naturally forgot about the pills. Since the day Song Xing Chuan moved Yu Yao out, the house had been quiet. Jiang Shending went to work every morning to negotiate contracts and meet clients, but she remained cold toward Song Xing Chuan. More than once he asked me, Yuni, do you know if your mother is still seeing that guy? I shook my head. Who mom eats dinner with is her business. I'm just a child. Why should I meddle in adult affairs? He tried to reconcile with her several times. I sent Yu Yao away. Can't we just go back to the way we were? He even used me as a shield. Do you really want Yuni to grow up in a family like this? This was indeed Jiang Shending's weak point. After much thought, she finally sighed and nodded. You're right. I can't let her live like this. Song Xing Chuan was overjoyed, a wide smile spreading across his face. I knew you'd eventually soften up. Fool, I thought. Jiang Shending didn't need his late-to-the-party remorse or his belated affection. When she and her daughter were abandoned in the freezing snow, when her mother-in-law humiliated her in front of the relatives, no one had stood up for her. Did he think her suffering was just a down payment for a little bit of his shallow love? A man's promise is only valid the moment it's spoken. Once Yu Yao was gone, there would be 1,000 other Yu Yaos. By forcing him to chase her, Jiang Shending wanted him to feel the pain she had endured. She wasn't interested in just winning the emotional battle. She was going for a physical victory between life and death. I knew the day would come, but I didn't expect it so soon. Right after school, the driver picked me up and took me straight to the hospital. A crowd had gathered. My grandmother was being supported by a maid, crying hysterically. How did this happen? How could there be an accident? Other relatives were blaming Yu Yao. He crashed because he was waiting for her. Who does she think she is? He has a wife and child. Do you see what you've done? Yu Yao was paralyzed with fear, stammering, "This has nothing to do with me. He was driving and had a heart attack. It's his own health." The surgeon stepped out of the operating room, shaking his head grimly. Grandmother turned pale. "Did no one know the patient has heart disease?" The doctor sighed. "He was supposed to avoid overwork, drinking, and late nights. He should have always had his medicine with him." Jiang Shending's eyes were red. She pressed her lips together and shot a glance at Yu Yao. "He hasn't been home lately." The relatives looked at each other, realization dawning on them. Yu Yao's eyes went wide. "It really wasn't me. I didn't know he had a heart condition." I watched as my mother efficiently handled the hospitalization and surgery paperwork. She comforted grandmother and the relatives, busy and disheveled, playing the role of the strong yet grieving wife to perfection. Grandmother held her hand, weeping and thanking her. "Thank God for you. I don't know what this family would do without you." In the ICU, Song Xingchuan lay on the bed with a ventilator, his face bruised and his lips bloodless. The doctor said he had a sudden heart attack and hit a bridge pillar. Yu Yao had only minor injuries, but his were severe. Even if he woke up, his legs might never recover. In other words, he was going to be paralyzed. Grandmother was taken home by relatives as they feared she couldn't handle the stress. The room fell silent, leaving only our family. "Look at you. This is the price of being so eager to help someone else raise their daughter." Jiang Shending gently stroked his brow, her expression full of mock pity. "Does it hurt? This is how much it hurt Yu Ni. She picked a bouquet of flowers for your birthday, but she got into an accident on the way. And you? You were with someone else's child." Jiang Shending had been playing this game for a year. She had accidentally let it slip to Yu Yao that Song Xingchuan liked drinking and sweets, then introduced her to a famous bar. Yu Yao, new to the area and lonely, was happy to have him take her out all night. His collapse was only a matter of time. I stood by the window, looking at the distant forest. Swallows were flying back to their nests with food for their young. No one knew the depth of Jiang Shending's hatred. "Oh, and don't worry about the company." She tied her hair back casually. She had intentionally messed it up earlier to look haggard for her performance. "I'll take good care of it for you." And she meant it. The very next day, she took over the company, meeting with the board to discuss contracts and projects. Then, she went to find Yu Yao to settle the accounts for the time she lived in our house. Citing the unauthorized use of marital assets, she demanded Yu Yao return every luxury item, the watches, the handbags, that Song Xingchuan had given her. Yu Yao tried to deny it, but when Jiang Shending showed up with a team of lawyers, she panicked. "These were gifts. He gave them to me freely." "Fine. If you don't want to settle this legally, we can settle it through public opinion." Jiang Shending pushed a stack of documents toward her. "This is a formal complaint. I can send it to your company's HR and post it online." Tears streamed down Yu Yao's face. "We're both women. Why can't you give me a break?" she cried. "I didn't destroy your family. Why are you being so heartless?" Jiang Shending took a sip of her coffee. "You think I'm targeting you? Competing with you? Not quite. I'm targeting everyone in that family. You knew he was married with a child, yet you had no boundaries. You flaunted your intimacy with him in front of me. You wanted to feel the thrill of being envied, to prove your irresistible charm. How pathetic was your life that you had to build your self-worth on the misery of others. I don't care about you. In fact, I'll give you some advice. Next time, try kissing him at your husband's grave. It might be even more thrilling for you." She smiled. "But first, prepare to pay me back the 800,000 you owe." Yu Yao's face went white. She was about to speak when Jiang Shending cut her off. "And don't worry about fairness. I'm giving him exactly what he deserves too. His company is worthless now. The board answers to me. My lawyers are already drafting the divorce papers. Your chat logs, bank statements, and the house security footage are all the evidence of adultery I need. If you think that's too light, don't worry." Jiang Shending pulled out her phone and showed a photo. "He's in the hospital. Even if he survives, he'll be paralyzed from the waist down. I'll leave the task of caring for him to you. You two star-crossed lovers can finally share your burdens together." Ignoring Yu Yao's hysterical sobbing, she waved me over and led me out of the cafe. Spring had arrived. Everywhere I looked, trees were budding after a long winter. The grass was lush and green, and the sky was a clear, brilliant blue. "Uni, look! It's such a beautiful day. The clouds look like cotton candy." Jiang Shending looked up at the sky like a child, pointing at the clouds in wonder. Before, she only had eyes for Song Xingchuan. She had no interest in the world outside her window. "There will be even more beautiful days ahead," I said with a smile. When did Jiang Shending wake up? Was it when she saw her daughter's broken body and felt her soul go numb with helplessness? Was it when the one person she relied on was out trysting with a mistress when she needed him most? Jiang Shending was my past, and she was my future. This was a true female lead, returning strong from the brink of despair. We shouldn't praise suffering, but suffering must have a purpose. The essence of pain is to use it as a ladder to become someone others admire. We don't go through fire just to be worthy of a man's dismissive gaze. She wasn't a flower that bloomed for a fleeting summer. She was an evergreen mountain, standing tall all year round. "Shut up!" Song Xingchuan barked impatiently, dragging me along as he stomped toward the pair. As he approached, Lu Jizhai gave a curt nod by way of greeting. Song Xingchuan let out a lopsided, mocking smirk, his eyes fixed on Jiang Shending. "So, this is the person you've been having dinner with? Is this why you're coming home so late? To spend every moment by his side?" Lu Jizhai and Jiang Shending exchanged a quick, knowing glance and shared a soft laugh. In Song Xingchuan's eyes, the gesture was a blatant provocation. Unable to contain himself, he glared at Jiang Shending and roared, "The girl has been waiting for you at home all day. It's pouring rain out there, yet you didn't say a word before going off to dinner with another man? I went looking for you in the rain. I waited an hour and never saw your face." Jiang Shending countered unexpectedly. "Weren't you the one who forgot you even had a wife and child?" She looked at him, a faint, graceful smile playing on her lips. Do those words I just said sound familiar to you, Xingchuan?" Song Xingchuan froze. Jiang Shending continued, her voice measured and calm. "During the Lunar New Year, you ditched your daughter on the side of the road to wait for a bus alone because you were in a hurry for your own business. It was snowing heavily, yet you drove off without a second thought, leaving her to catch a cold and suffer from a high fever. And when I had just given birth, you were so busy reuniting with Yu Yao after all those years apart that you didn't answer my calls for 12 straight hours. You even blocked my number because you found the ringing noisy. In the end, I had to hail a taxi and get myself home alone. I am merely treating you exactly the way you once treated me," she said. "And yet, you feel uncomfortable? You feel it's unfair?" Jiang Shending let out a dry laugh and gestured toward Yu Yao, who stood nearby. "You even publicly brought your white moonlight back into our home. Have you forgotten that you're already married?" Jiang Shending was never afraid to rip open old wounds, even if they had supposedly healed, right in front of everyone. On the contrary, it was Song Xingchuan's eyes burned a manic red, his face a mask of profound humiliation. He was so incensed he actually let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Fine, since that's how you want to play it, I have nothing left to say. Think whatever you want." He lunged forward, snatching me back and shoving me roughly into Jiang Shending's arms. "Hanyu, look at your mother. Look at what she's doing to your father." His violence aggravated my injuries once again, forcing a sharp or pained gasp from my lungs. Only then did he seem to snap out of it, hurriedly leaning down in a panic. "What's wrong? Does the wound hurt again?" But his path was blocked by Lu Jizhai's arm. Jiang Shending looked down at him, her gaze icy and detached. "Don't you dare touch Hanyu." Chapter 3. Ultimately, a sharp slap from Jiang Shending brought Song Xingchuan back to his senses. Without another word, she turned her back on him and led me straight home. "Hanyu, your father was too rough just now. Did he hurt you?" Jiang Shending knelt, checking me over with trembling hands. When she saw no fresh blood, she finally let out a long breath of relief. A timely knock echoed at the door. Grandmother arrived, trailing Song Xingchuan behind her. She offered a strained, placating smile. "Shending, let's not have the two of you fighting over an outsider. Don't let the children see you like this. They'll only laugh at the drama." Song Xingchuan stood awkwardly in the doorway, clutching a plate of fruit and a glass of warm milk. "Eat some fruit," he mumbled under his breath. Jiang Shending didn't spare him a glance. "Just leave it on the table. When are Yu Yao and Yu Tiao Tiao leaving?" Song Xingchuan took a deep, shaky breath. "Tomorrow. Once the rain stops, I'll drive them to the apartment myself." Jiang Shending let out a dry chuckle. "How incredibly thoughtful of you." Once the sound of Song Xingchuan's footsteps finally faded down the hallway, my mother turned to me. She couldn't help but laugh softly, leaning in to pinch my cheek. "What's that look for? Do you feel like your father is a different man now compared to before?" I hesitated for a heartbeat, then nodded. She smiled, but the expression was steeped in bitterness. "That's right, Hanyu. People only learn the value of something once they've already lost it." I lowered my gaze. "I know." "How could you possibly know?" Jiang Shending asked, her voice filled with surprise. She pulled me into a fierce, pitying embrace. "My poor Hanyu." I hugged her back, breathing in the faint, sweet scent of fruit that always clung to her. Alain de Botton once wrote in On Seeing and Noticing that the less you like someone, the more effortlessly you can attract them. Intense desire strips away the nonchalance required for the game of love. When you are truly attracted to someone, you become inferior, and because we tend to project perfect qualities onto those we adore. Loving someone is like walking a dog. You have to know when to pull the leash tight and when to let it slack. How could we ever let Song Xingchuan hold the upper hand again? Jiang Shending stroked my hair. "Hanyu, if Mom and Dad separate, will you come with me?" I looked directly into her eyes and gave a serious nod. She laughed softly, a glint of steel in her eyes. "Every grievance you've ever suffered, Hanyu. I remember them all." She seemed to recall something and asked casually, "During the days I wasn't home, did you remind your father to take his medicine?" My lashes fluttered. After a long silence, I shook my head. It sounded like a joke, but I suddenly understood. That was the third move in her game. Song Xingchuan had a heart condition. He needed to carry his medication at all times. Fearing he would worry his mother, he kept it a secret from everyone else. Usually, Jiang Shending was the one who ironed his clothes and checked his pill case every single day to ensure it was never empty. But since Yu Yao's return, Song Xingchuan hadn't wanted to spend a single unnecessary minute at home. No one was there to nag him about his life-saving pills. Between grandmother and Yu Yao's constant bickering, the house had been in utter chaos. Naturally, he had forgotten all about his medicine. Once Song Xingchuan moved Yu Yao and her daughter out, the house fell quiet. Jiang Shending returned to her routine, heading to the office every morning to negotiate contracts and meet clients, but she remained ice cold towards Song Xingchuan. More than once, he cornered me to ask, "Hanyu, and do you know if your mother is still meeting that man?" I simply shook my head. Who mom eats dinner with is her business. I'm just a child. Why should I meddle in adult affairs? Song Xingchuan tried to reconcile with her multiple times. I've sent Yu Yao away. Can't we just go back to the way we were? He even tried to use me as a shield. Do you really want Hanyu to grow up in a broken home like this? This was admittedly Jiang Shending's one true weakness. She pondered it for a long time before finally nodding with a soft, weary sigh. You're right. I can't let Hanyu live like that. Song Xingchuan was ecstatic, his lips curling into a triumphant grin. I knew you'd soften up eventually. Fool, I thought to myself. Jiang Shending didn't need his belated remorse or his hollow second-hand affection. When she and her daughter were abandoned in the freezing snow, when her mother-in-law humiliated her in front of every relative, not a single soul had stood up for her. Did he really think her years of agony were just a down payment for a few scraps of his shallow love? A man's promise is only valid the second it leaves his lips. One Yu Yao might be gone, but there would be thousands more to take her place. By forcing Song Xingchuan to chase her, Jiang Shending wanted him to feel the exact weight of the pain she had endured. She didn't just want an emotional victory. She was aiming for a physical one, a win decided between life and death. I knew that day would come, but I didn't expect it to arrive so soon. Immediately after school, the driver picked me up and took me straight to the hospital. A massive crowd had gathered at the entrance. My grandmother was being supported by a maid, weeping hysterically. How did this happen? How could there be an accident? The other relatives were busy crucifying Yu Yao. He crashed because he was waiting for you, didn't he? Who do you think you are? He has a wife and child. Do you see what you've done? Yu Yao was paralyzed with terror, stammering her defense. This had nothing to do with me. He was driving and just had a heart attack halfway there. That's his own health problem. The surgeon stepped out of the operating room, his expression grim as he shook his head. Grandmother turned deathly pale at the sight. Did none of you know the patient has heart disease? The doctor sighed. He should have avoided exhaustion, alcohol, and late nights. He should have always had his medication on him. Jiang Shending spoke with bloodshot eyes, her lips trembling as she glanced at Yu Yao. He hasn't been home lately. The relatives exchanged looks, realization dawning on them all at once. Yu Yao's eyes went wide, her voice breaking into a sob. It really wasn't me. I didn't even know he had a heart condition. I was led along as I watched my mother efficiently handle the hospital admission and surgery paperwork. She played the role of the strong yet fragile wife to perfection, busy and disheveled, comforting grandmother and the relatives. Grandmother clung to her hand, weeping with gratitude. Thank God for you, Shending. If it weren't for you, I don't know what this family would do. In the ICU, Song Xingchuan lay on the bed, hooked to a ventilator. His face bruised and his lips drained of all color. The doctor said he'd suffered a sudden cardiac arrest while driving and slammed into a bridge pillar. Yu Yao had escaped with minor scratches, but his injuries were catastrophic. Even if he woke up, his legs would likely never move again. Song Xingchuan was going to be paralyzed. Grandmother was eventually taken home by relatives, fearing her heart couldn't take the strain. The room fell silent, leaving only our family behind. Look at you. This is what you get for being in such a hurry to help someone else raise their daughter. Jiang Shending gently stroked Song Xingchuan's brow, her face filled with mock compassion. Does it hurt? This is exactly how much it hurt Hanyu. Shihei's picked a bouquet of flowers for your birthday, but she met her accident on the way. And you? You were busy playing father to someone else's child. Jiang Shending had been playing this long game for an entire year. She had accidentally let slip to Yu Yao that Song Xingchuan enjoyed drinking and sweets, then introduced her to a famous late-night bar. Yu Yao, new to the city and lonely, was more than happy to have him take her out until dawn. Song Xingchuan's collapse was always just a matter of time. I stood by the window, staring out at the distant forest. Swallows were beating their wings, carrying food back to their young. No one knew the true depth of Jiang Shending's hatred. Oh, and don't worry about the company. Jiang Shending tied her hair back with a bored air. Earlier, she had intentionally messed it up to emphasize her distraught state. I'll make sure to take very good care of it for you. And she meant it. And the very next day, she took over the company alongside the board of directors, managing projects and contracts. Then, she tracked down Yu Yao to settle the score for the time she spent living in our house. Citing a violation of marital assets, she demanded Yu Yao return every single luxury item, the watches, the designer bags, that Song Xingchuan had ever bought her. Yu Yao tried to refuse, but when Jiang Shending showed up with a team of lawyers, she panicked. These were gifts. He gave them to me willingly. Fine. If you don't want to settle this through the law, we can settle it through the court of public opinion. Jiang Shending slid a stack of documents across the table. This is a formal accusation. I can send it to your company's HR and post it all over the internet. Yu Yao's face was a mess of tears and rage. We're both women. Why can't you give me a break? She cried. I didn't destroy your family. Why are you being so heartless? Jiang Shending took a calm sip of her coffee. You think I'm targeting you, competing with you? Not even close. I'm targeting every single member of that family. You knew he was married with a child, yet you ignored all boundaries. You flaunted your intimacy with him in my face because you wanted to feel the thrill of being envied. You wanted to prove your irresistible charm. How pathetic was your life that you had to build your self-worth on the suffering of others. I don't care about you. In fact, I'll give you some advice. Next time, try kissing Song Xingchuan on your husband's grave. Maybe that'll be stimulating enough for you. Jiang Shending smiled. But first, I suggest you prepare to pay back the 800,000 you owe. Yu Yao turned deathly pale, her fists clenched. She was about to speak when Jiang Shending cut her off. And don't worry about fairness. I'm giving him exactly what he deserves too. His company is worthless now. The board answers to me. My lawyers are already drafting the divorce settlement. Your chat logs, bank statements, and the house security footage are all the evidence of adultery I need. If you think that's too light, don't worry. Jiang Shending slowly pulled out her phone and opened a photo. He's in the hospital right now, barely hanging on. Even if he survives, he'll be paralyzed from the waist down. I'll leave the honor of caring for him to you. You two, our ill-fated lovers, can finally share your burdens together. Ignoring Yu Yao's hysterical sobbing, Jiang Shending waved me over and gently led me out of the cafe. Spring had arrived. Everywhere I looked, trees that had been silent all winter were bursting with new buds. The grass was a vibrant, lush green, and the sky was a brilliant blue, as if it had been scrubbed clean. Hanyu, look. It's such a beautiful day. The clouds look like cotton candy. Jiang Shending looked up at the sky like a child, pointing at the white clouds in genuine wonder. Before, her eyes had only ever seen Song Xingchuan. She never had the heart to look at the world outside. There will be many more beautiful days to come, I said with a smile. When did Jiang Shending truly wake up? Was it when she saw her daughter's broken body and felt her soul go numb with helplessness? Was it when the only man she'd ever relied on abandoned her when she needed him most to tryst with a mistress? Jiang Shending was my past, and she was my future. This was a true female lead, one who returned from the brink of death stronger than ever. We shouldn't glorify suffering, but suffering must have meaning. The true purpose of pain is to use it as a foundation to become someone others admire. We don't survive trials just to settle for the dismissive gaze of a man. She wasn't a flower that bloomed for a short summer. She was a mountain, green and enduring all year round.